Hello, my name is Monica from Hit Street Media and I'm here today in Brisbane, Australia. There is an event about 100 metres that way called Let Women Speak, and this is, I guess, the counter-protest. And I'm here today to get the stories from both sides. I just want to understand what they think and what their issues are with each other, and I'm going to play the unbiased role today and just listen to what people have to say.
I just want to be seen. I want to make sure that people know that we don't agree with and tolerate the kind of hateful stuff that's being espoused by our friends over here.
I literally come from the opposite side of the world to say women don't have penises.
Why are you at an anti-trans event?
This isn't an anti-trans event.
What is it?
It's about women, and it's about the sex of women, and it's about respect for women. I love my mum and I have 2 daughters, and I don't want to see just men be able to identify to go into their spaces. And I'm not anti anyone. I'm just anti making laws that could, lead to issues that more surveillance and more everything else, because some people might want to go and do this just off the whim.
So this is a rally for trans rights. We have a horrible TERF coming here, and she is going to spread some horrible information and lies about trans people. People just want to live and live their best life.
I'm not anti-trans, I'm pro-women. So,
what's the difference?
Well, the difference is there's biological reality, and there's male and there's female, and that's all, folks. There's nothing in between. There's, science confirms it, the Bible confirms it, every reality, your own eyes confirm it. There are people who struggle with their identity, but it's very unkind to lie to them and suggest that they can change their sex, because no one on earth has ever changed their sex.
Yeah.
I'm out here as a straight cis man supporting all my friends and family who are trans and the trans community as a whole. I'm against the hateful speech of, in particular, Posey Parker, but there's a larger movement forming who are catering to the far right.
It's not a hateful event or anti-trans how it's being sort of portrayed in the media at all. It's an event saying that we love women's rights and we want to keep women's rights. And people say, like, oh, there's no conflict. It's like, if there wasn't a conflict, we wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be being taken to federal court. We wouldn't be having our rights erased in law. Like, we're in this situation where this group that claims to be the most marginalized, oppressed minority in the world has actually had laws changed in stealth. And we now have to try and fix that so that women can have women's only spaces, women's only sport, that we're recognized as our own sex class in law.
So why do you think people misunderstand events like this? Why do they call you a bigot or anti-trans?
Well, I'm totally not. I have heaps of friends that are, bi, homosexual, everything else. That's not the issue. The issue here is that people can go and identify at any time they want and enter a woman's space. And it just so happens that it happened over in Scotland with a unicameral parliament there too. They don't have an upper house, and here we are doing it in Queensland. And no, I don't think we should be doing it. I think we should leave this alone. I think we've got enough issues in society as it is without having to make laws like this that open themselves up to other societal issues that we can't even cope with now.
What are they saying that is offensive to you and your family and friends?
The things that it is are like the insinuation that trans people are, especially like that trans women are men who are trying to rape women, like breaking in, like pretending to be female to go to prison and female prison. It's just not happening, or where it is, it's like 1 or 2 cases. It's not like, it is not a trans issue.
What offends you exactly?
They're calling for my eradication and those of people like me. They want to wind back legal protections that have been established after years of fighting for them. Yeah. But they all do it under the guise of women's rights, which is completely inaccurate.
I'm not sure what rights they think they don't have, but I'm very interested in women and girls' rights, sex-based rights. We have disadvantage just by virtue of our physical, biological bodies, and I think it's really important to have female-only spaces. People who identify as trans, they've got all the human rights they need to have. There are spaces, more spaces can be created, a third space or a third team, that's fine.
Like neutral bathrooms?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have any problems with that. What I have a problem with particularly is adult males insisting that they should have access to female spaces and services.
Okay. Would you consider yourself a feminist? Is that a title that...
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. if a man wins like a women's sports, competition or a women's award, how does a feminist feel about that? Does it feel like they're taking that award away from women, or?
The medical research proves that once people have actually undergone gender transition, they gain no appreciable benefit over cis women or AFAB women. Honestly, this whole argument is a red herring, and it's designed to distract us from their real goal, which is the extermination of trans people.
Extermination, what does that mean? Like
they want to stop us from existing.
Like they want to kill you?
Some of the extremists have even made those statements. They want us dead. They incite people to commit violence against it. Thankfully, that's fairly uncommon in Australia. However, a precedent has been set overseas, and people like Posey Parker are exporting that from other countries to Australia.
We do not hate them. I don't. I can only speak for myself. I don't hate individuals. I am standing against an ideological position. There are some aggressive males that make me very uncomfortable when they try to make me lie and accept the lie that they are female, because they're not. But I do not wish ill or harm or death on any of them.
Can you be a feminist and a pro-trans person at the same time?
Well, there's definitely a conflict, but I don't think it's just with feminism. I think it's with the truth and trans rights. Like, I don't think that this is something that just affects women. It affects us first and foremost in a really dangerous way, because it is our spaces and it is our sports and it's these rights that we've already worked so hard to get. But this actually affects everybody. Like, even a man has the right to say that's a man standing in front of me, but also trans people have that right. Trans people should have the right to acknowledge the biological sex of someone, because this is actually a basic evolutionary skill that we all have, and it's a survival mechanism. It's really important. So trans people should be able to listen to their instincts just as much as anybody else. So, there's a way to go, like, we're all involved in this together, but not with the way they're coming at it.
A biological man who was convicted of rape and he's now in the women's prison. Like, can you see how that could be a little bit awkward for women in the women's prisons, or
Absolutely.
not?
And I actually can understand and relate to the fear that even some of the people over here have, having experienced sexual abuse themselves, that this is a real risk. But if we look at the statistics, it's just not borne out. So, okay, we've got one person who was born male who apparently since committing a crime has identified or come out as identifying as trans female. I can't read their mind. I don't know if they've experienced dysphoria, so I can't really judge. Their psychologists could probably tell us. If they're able to go to a women's prison, I presume that there's been some compelling psychological evidence that was given, but I'm not party to it, so I can't really say.
But you understand, and that's really big of you to say that under the circumstances. Like, you're obviously not black and white. Every trans person should be able to do whatever they want. There's obviously some limitations. I think that's really, am I reading that incorrectly, or? There's
always limitations on everything.
Yeah.
And I think we should always consider the merits of a particular case.
It's a difficult situation. They are female and they are going into a female prison, so I think that is the right place for them to be.
Even with a penis?
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't agree with a man just saying I'm a woman and going to a prison. He has to actually start the process, right?
There is a process of going through transitioning or living as a female.
It's a really hard life to be trans. Why would you go through all that just so that you could be in a women's prison?
Well, that list is growing by the day, unfortunately. There are a lot of males who identify as female and get access to spaces like prisons. There's absolutely... I can't understand on what planet that's okay, particularly when they have male genitalia, to go into a female prison, where the female prison population is the most vulnerable population pretty much in Australia. And no one will ever convince me that they have that right to then access those spaces. I don't care how much they've been through to get there. There are other ways, there are better options, and that is not it.
So maybe having like a neutral space on a different area, would you condone that?
Look, I don't have a problem, like I said, with the third space, the third area. Males are biologically male, and if they identify as something else, that's fine, but they're not women. So just draw the line and say, no, you're not women.
There are people that might take advantage of legislation that does let men go to women's prisons, for example.
Yeah. It is telling that this is the part of that they focus on.
Okay, so they've chosen the smallest percentage of potential issues to make a big deal out of it. Yeah.
And again, it's like in my most generous read of their view, they are misunderstanding statistics.
Sometimes they look like obviously they maybe didn't transition as young or something like that, and they win like a beauty pageant or something. Can you see maybe how that might be offensive to some women?
Personally, no. If someone considers themselves a woman, then they're a woman. If they consider themselves a man, they're a man. It's their life, and it has nothing to do with anyone else.
Looks like a man, is big and tall and stuff, and wins a beauty pageant. Can you, like, from a feminist point of view, can you see how that could be offensive?
No, not at all. Trans women are women.
What if they're not the most beautiful?
Then why are they voted the most beautiful?
What if it's like they're scared of like offending them, so they give them the first position?
So that's a discussion about who has power over a position.
You think that trans women should win based on their merits, not because they're trans, right?
Yeah.
Men aren't women, and it shouldn't take bravery to say that, and that any woman or man who can stand up and say it makes it easier for the next person. So these events are really important.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Hit Street Media, and we will continue to do videos as long as you continue to watch them. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and every other social media under the sun. So I will see you next time on the streets.